How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Ozzy from the Nerdy Basement back again. And joining me today is Eric Baktanian, writer, director, producer of Be Nice. Eric, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ozzy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very excited.
No, I'm excited too. Honestly, you're my very first interview in like 2 years, I think. So I'm excited for this one. I'm super hyped. I saw the opportunity. I was like, no, yeah, I got to jump on it. But yeah,
Fantastic. Thank you
I
so
like
much.
Thank you. No, thank you. I like to begin the interviews whenever I conduct them, at least personally. I like to have our guests introduce themselves, tell us what they do especially for those who are hearing you or seeing you for the first time. So tell us a bit about yourself, Eric.
All right. Well, my name is Eric Baktanian, and I am a writer, director, and producer of Be Nice, a short film which has been accepted to the Dances with Films Film Festival, which is premiering. It'll have its orange carpet premiere this Saturday, June 21st at 11 p.m. at the Chinese Theater. But prior to all of that, I have kind of worked my way up to getting here, pretty much doing every single position from PA, intern, locations, all of that, kind of working my way to earn pretty much the position where I'm at. And prior to that, I was very big on education. So law school, business school, and all that. So I pretty much took the scenic route to get here.
Oh man, you're the jack of all trades, essentially. You got a pretty long resume.
Hopefully, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I was kind of eyeballing this entire industry for a while. It took me a while to get here, but I wanted to make sure I was bringing something to the table once I did get here. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No, and I like that you mentioned that you want to bring something to the table. I feel like Be Nice. I watched it a few times. It's short, relatively short, under 10 minutes for those with short attention spans. You know what I mean? That's not a knock to anybody, but for those who want a quick, little bite of something, this film is very short, less than 10 minutes, like I said, but it has substance. It looks really good. It has like a nice thematic, like, undertone for it, despite it being horror.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's actually funny enough because it's 7 minutes. We wanted to fit as many gags as we could into it because, with today's attention span, right? A lot of people, including myself,
Mhm.
kind of very ADHD personality.
Right.
And plus, the
Hmm.
audiences, they're smart. They've seen this all before. So we
Hmm.
want to kind of get into it. I'm a very big Star Wars fan, and that one can throws you immediately into it. Like, you'll figure it out. So in this 7 minutes, we just kind of start and we pack a lot of fun kind of gags into it. And like you were saying, horror, you can kind of fit a lot of thematic elements in there. And this one is very kind
Right.
of bullying style. Like, bullying is bad. When does the victim become the bully themselves? And is there anybody enforcing that social contract that we have to be nice to each other? So I want to kind
Right.
of explore that, but under the guise of horror, like you said, exactly.
No, I appreciate that. That was one of my questions because, like, there's something that especially given today's climate in the world, everybody's like so on edge and so like antsy, I feel, and so like rugged, rough around the edges, so to speak. Something like this with a society be nice. It's simple, it is straightforward, and something that we can use a little bit more of in the world if we're really being honest here. You know what I mean? So, was that something that kind of inspired the theme that you wanted to deliver with this short film?
Exactly. You actually hit the nail on the head. Exactly. So what the it's everybody's getting very brazen recently, right? It's
Hmm.
just society's getting a little bit more aggressive towards each other. So
Right.
this is becoming more and more relevant as time goes on. So when I noticed that happening, I realized, okay, now is the time. I have to make this short. But the genesis of the idea, funny enough, came from George Costanza from Seinfeld, right? The character. One of my
Hmm.
favorite characters ever. A lot of often what happens throughout the show is he'll get annoyed when somebody kind of breaks that social contract and is rude to him, and he gets upset and he's like, we're living in a society here. We're supposed to be kind to one another. So I kind of figured, what if there was like an entity enforcing that social contract of we
Hmm.
have to be nice and kind, and the way we were kind of taught when we were children. And if you're not that way, what if something horrible happens to you? Then society starts being nice to each other. But is that a benefit? Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because you're gonna feel like you're in a prison, but then there's no more crime. Society is nice to each other, but it's
Right.
fake. So it's like a lot of themes kind of like all rolling around, stuffed into a quick short with a lot of fun beats kind of back and forth.
No, and I appreciate you elaborating more on that. There's also a hint of a dark past to the character of Marcus. There's a lot of like some sublime subtext there. That's like, oh, there's something more with him. Gave me a little bit of like The Omen, a little inspiration of The Omen. With those type of characters. Can you elaborate more on Marcus and what's going on with his past, that dark past, essentially?
Yes. So when it starts, he's just a regular kid being bullied, right? Like we've all been there. So, and it's the smallest thing. They're kids fighting over candy, right? So we've all been there when we're kids. So when that's happening, you're on the victim side, right? You're on Marcus's side. You're like, okay,
Right.
of course, he's right. And then as the short is kind of progressing, you're like, hang on a second, is this a setup? What's going on here? And then as it kind of progresses and the monster kind of gets involved, and you realize that, wait a minute, the monster and this kid are communicating. This is way too much power for a child to have. This is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous territory here. What's going on? And also, so I just love that shift where, and then the father also comes in and then, abandons his child as well. So who is the victim and who is the bully in the situation? All three, maybe four characters are both at the same time. So I just kind of enjoy that switching back and forth where it's like, hang on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just like you were saying with the Omen, it's just a child. So of course they're innocent. But then later on, when we do a little bit more fun with their hair and the lighting and all that, you
Mm-hmm.
realize, oh, okay, it's a much deeper story. This goes down the rabbit hole a lot more, but in a fun way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that because I was wondering, like, I'm getting Omen vibes here. Like, there's obviously more to him. Obviously, it's a short film; you can only squeeze in so much. But I definitely wanted to pick your brain a little bit about Marcus and what was your approach with him. In terms of visuals, I know you there was a lot of the cinematography is great. The lighting you mentioned, which is also great. You work with Caitlin Brown with on this project. You might elaborating how it was working with her because she's very, very talented. We've all seen her work and she's great. So how was it working with her?
Incredible. Absolutely, actually changed my entire style of writing and directing for the better. Caitlin Brown has absolutely made everything better on every single project, especially this one would Be Nice, because you imagine it a certain way, like in my mind, and then I explain it to her, and then she kind of takes it, translates it, makes it better,
Mhm.
and then obviously her and I will discuss that, and then once it's done, then she will explain to everybody else what's kind of needed with the gaffer, the lighting, like you were saying. So she's
Right.
not only the cinematographer, but she's also a translator and kind of like runs the show in that aspect and honestly improves it. It's what Be Nice ended up being and what I initially imagined it are two completely different things. And what it is now is much better than I had imagined it. Like it's 10 times better, especially when we were on set and you're running into kind of problems. Is you're like, oh, okay, good, 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 good. Like, so
Yeah.
it's going
Yeah.
to be much better
Mhm.
because now we can utilize what's in the room. And instead of just me writing it by myself, now everybody else on set, especially Caitlin, is there to lend their mind as well. So it becomes almost like a TV show where it's,
Right.
on movies, it's
Mhm.
one person writing alone, but on a TV show, it's 12 people writing together for the best one. So I kind of
Yeah.
incorporated that a little bit on set. And Caitlin is like a very big catalyst of that as well.
No, she's great. And at first, when I first saw the teaser, I was like, okay, visually, this is gonna be amazing. I've seen some of Caitlin's work in the past, and as I saw, kept watching the short film as it progressed, I'm like, nah, this she is just flexing at this point. You know what I mean? Like she's
Absolutely.
flexing her muscles here.
In addition to that, once I found out that like she's very, very talented with stunts and underwater, my mind started
Mhm.
going. So the next project we're doing with her as well incorporates her talents with stunts and whatnot. So and action. So
Oh,
we're
nice.
so it was very, very lucky that like the stars aligned where her and I kind of like found each other, and I liked her work, and I was like, okay, that one, that one, that one, and then it kind of like changed and flowed into what we are now, which is like a very good team, and the other people around us working together as well. So it's very exciting.
No, I'm excited to hear that for sure. I'm definitely gonna look, keep an eye out for that. Definitely send it our way. We can sit down and chat up about it once again, But I also did want to pick your brain a bit about the character, the creature that we get to see in those short film. There's one scene in particular with the sleeping bag that's very reminiscent to me to Nightmare on Elm Street, and that scene has stuck to me. I was like, this is taking me back to like nightmares that I will have. This is nightmare fuel from Nightmare on
Yes.
Elm Street. Was that something that inspired that particular scene or the creature in any way?
It was. So I'll give you a few references that kind of like made up the whole Be Nice and the creature as
Mm-hmm.
well. So I love that you got that reference. I was totally going for that, especially with the sleeping bag and kind of the claws are crawling through it.
Right, right, right.
So yeah,
Loved
exactly.
it.
Okay, so
Loved it.
right. So the references I would say that kind of influenced Be Nice the most, I would say is the Twilight Zone, the movie, especially that
Mm-hmm.
segment of It's a Good Life. Where the kid, everyone in town is afraid of this one child because he's got like telekinetic powers, and his entire family is afraid of him as well. So
Yeah.
and it's too much power for a child to have, right? But it's also very colorful. So I love that, which is another reason I enjoyed Caitlin so much because her visuals are very kind of colorful and all that. And I enjoyed that. The movie It and It Too. I enjoyed that because it shows that kids can be funny and stressed out as well. Uh,
Right.
Poltergeist, of course, you're in a room alone. There's a monster under the bed. That doll that was sitting on the rocking chair, that was
Yeah.
freaky the entire time. And coming back to what you said, of course, Beetlejuice and Freddy Krueger. The thing is, these two characters, they have colors. It's a calling card, right? Freddy is
Hmm.
green and red, and then Beetlejuice is black and white, right? So when things around them start changing to those colors, you're like, oh no, Freddy's here, Beetlejuice is here, and both of them mess with their prey before they eat them or attack them.
Right.
So I brought all that together, and it kind of formed Be Nice. But Be Nice is kind of its own thing. It's influenced by all those, but it's its own thing because it can work in any time period, any genre. Because at any time period, there's going to be people that are mean to each other, right? I've essentially
Right.
created a monster that you can't really kind of kill. So it's fun to
Yeah.
experiment in that way in different genres and time periods with that. And the
No,
monster is just
go ahead.
yeah,
No, go ahead.
the final thing is the monster is just fun because it's got four long arms, so it can be at
Right.
any point in the room at any time. So you're just nervous watching. You're like, okay, you're not safe because it could be here, it could be there, it could be both places at once because it's got long arms and four of them. So it's fun messing with the audio and all that.
No, it was great. I noticed those references and I was like, no, this is a man who really knows his horror stuff. He is delivering the nods, the references, and I was all for it. Again, that was nightmare fuel for me as a young child, but it definitely molded me into the horror fan that I am today. So with that being said, I do have a more of a personal question. What are some of your favorite horror films? Some of your favorite horror creatures? I know you mentioned things like Poltergeist, Nightmare on Elm Street, Beetlejuice, but what is one or two horror creators or horror films that really kind of stick with you and kind of influence your creative work?
Well, I would say the two ones that I enjoy very much so are The Thing and Alien, and Aliens as well. But the thing
Mhm.
is, with both The Thing and Alien, it's smart people in a bad situation. It's smart people making smart decisions, right? So us as the audience, when we're looking at them, we're not like, "Come on, that's lazy writing." We're like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I would do." It's just they're just in a
Yeah.
situation with a much smarter monster, and the thing is, the monster keeps changing. So with my ADHD personality where I'll kind of get bored with it, right? But with
Mhm.
the thing and an alien, the monster itself is changing and evolving, so it keeps you interested, and the dread is getting worse and worse because you have less people in support around you, but the monsters are getting stronger, and you're making every single smart decision in the world. So those two things, like I really enjoy it because the danger is not in the horrible writing, but the danger is in the monster itself and the mood and
Mhm.
the atmosphere. I love that.
Atmosphere horror is something that kind of gets the goosebumps going, make you tremble at night. You know what I mean? Especially on a rainy day or something like that. But I'm glad to hear that. Another bit of a personal question. Obviously, you're a big horror fan. Are there any past horror experiences that kind of stuck with you and that also inspire your work? This is not now. This is outside the fictional stuff. This is more personal. This is stuff that's like I experienced this as a kid, and this is who I am now because I experienced that as a kid. You know?
Actually, yeah, funny enough. Okay, so it's funny because it actually happened in the movie Poltergeist as well. Remember that giant tree that's outside, and the whole time the kid is looking at it. It's like, I don't like that tree, and the parents are initially like, don't worry about it, and then later on trying to cut it down, and
Hmm.
it's getting. I don't know what they're doing with the camera, but it's getting bigger and closer and more kind of daunting. And then at one point, there's this huge thunderstorm, and then the tree actually crashes through like the window and
Hmm.
everything,
I
and you're not
remember. Yep.
and you can't tell if it is it possessed, is it not, what's going on. But I remember in my childhood, we were living in a house and there was an insane thunderstorm, and we were living in a cul-de-sac, so the winds were kind of like all twisting around in there. And
Hmm.
there was a giant tree right outside my window, and I had seen Poltergeist as a kid, and I was like, no, 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 that's gonna happen. Mom, Dad, get me out of this room. So they pretty much forced me to sleep in the middle of like not even any of their rooms because they had windows as well. So I forced them to sleep with me in like the middle of like the TV room, the den area, while the thunderstorm was all around us. And your imagination goes wild when you feel stuff like that. And plus, don't forget, I'm kind of a halfway point between millennial and Generation X, so a
Yeah.
Zillennial as they call it. So
Zanelio. Yep.
exactly, yeah. So we had a lot of time on our own. Like our parents were at work, so after we got home from school, it was just us, right? So just hanging out.
Hmm.
Okay, what do we do? All right, so watch a lot of TV, be alone a lot in the house. Any noise that happens, you're like, okay, what is that? What's going on? Your imagination
Always on
runs
edge.
wild.
Hmm.
Exactly, yeah. So basically, you channel that into writing, especially watching lots of movies and TV shows, and you start seeing patterns with everything. You're like, okay, it's good. I can channel my fear into something good. And funny enough that you said that with horror movies, the original movie It, when it was a TV miniseries, right?
Right.
My
Hmm.
parents were watching it, and I was watching it next, and then they're like, "No, no, no, you're too young to see this. Go upstairs." Okay, fantastic. Well, you shouldn't have put a TV in my room. So I go upstairs, and
Gonna
I shouldn't
watch
have
it
watched.
anyway.
I watched it there, yeah. And I specifically remember it was a scene where the kid was it was he's looking at a book, like a yearbook or something, and the kid winks at the camera. It's supposed to be a picture. I was like, "No, that's it." Turned it off. I had that put a giant fear in me for horror movies all the way until the movie came out, the recent ones, that got
Yeah,
me
yeah.
over my fear of clowns and everything, which it initially gave me from the initial miniseries. So it's funny that
Right.
It's by Stephen King both gave me my fear and
Mhm.
took it away and got me into that huge onslaught of now I'm going to watch every single horror movie that I've been avoiding the entire time. And I got just insanely into it, started seeing patterns. And I mean, it really like I have fallen in love with the genre like more than I really thought I would ever.
No, it's one of the best genres in the industry, honestly. And like it's funny that you kind of like ended your response on that because it kind of segues into one of the questions I have. Obviously, horror films as a whole, as a genre, have been really front and center from all of Hollywood. You know what I mean? But specifically, at least from my perspective, over the last decade or so, there's been a lot of new age horror projects that kind of like breathe in new life into the genre and kind of like took it out of the sort of slumber that it kind of fell into. You know what I mean? And like we got Jordan Peele, Blumhouse doing a lot of good creative things with Get Out, Nope, things of that nature. How does this new invigoration of the horror genre influence you now, that from being a fan of horror to being someone who's creating their own horror stories for this specific project and any projects that you may be working on in the future?
Okay, so I am a massive fan of Jordan Peele, and you hit the nail on the head again. So Get Out and Nope, those are probably my two favorite horror movies in recent times. Incredible. Like the recent auteurs nowadays have definitely risen the game a little bit for horror because they're sneaking in a lot of themes in there, a lot of psychological aspects. And another thing is, I'm seeing a total resurgence of kind of like the 80s and 70s where they're finally showing the monster. Smile is doing this too, especially Smile
That
2.
smile
Yeah,
right at the beginning, you kind of get
yeah,
you kind of get that. You know what I mean? They're not hiding it. They slap you right in the face with it. This is what you're going to be dealing with.
exactly. First of all, it's like a 7 minute uncut shot initially.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
the cinematographers are having incredible fun like with that. So stylistically, horror is getting really, really good with the lighting and the gappers and all that and the sound. But also they're showing the monster at the end of Smile 2 when you're like, oh wow, they're showing this
Right.
disgusting
Mm-hmm.
monster. And the other one, the recent one with I believe it won the Oscar. No, it didn't win the Oscar. The one Demi Moore, where she's getting
Oh, the
younger and younger.
substance. The
The Substance,
substance.
yeah, that
Yeah,
one's
yeah, yeah.
incredible. Like the story and the cinematography, it is a massive resurgence, and they are paving the way for people like me that kind of want to smash genres and put it and hide it under like the horror as well. You know, like for example, the next one
Mm-hmm.
we're doing is kind of Inception, but if it was a fantasy action horror, right? So my
Right.
favorite thing is smashing genres together and smoothing it out so it fits together really well. And they are doing that. They're bringing it out to us. And one thing I want to point out, especially with Jordan Peele, is one thing I love that he's doing. He's injecting so much comedy into the horror because
Mm-hmm.
it's yin and yang. It's the same side of the same coin, right? It's both sides of the same
Yep.
coin. You can't do horror without comedy, and I think another reason horror is so popular is because it's a comedy. It stresses you out, then it makes you
Mm-hmm.
laugh. Stresses you out, then it makes you
Yep.
laugh. And so you can sneak in a lot of genres under horror, and I really appreciate the new people and the new style, like you're saying, paving the way. And I'm very happy, like because my taste is kind of in line with theirs, which means I'm in good company.
No, for sure. You can see that obviously for those who are going to watch it this weekend at Dances with Films, they'll see that. I've noticed that this is stylistic now. It has a lot of the cinematography is completely different now when it comes to horror as a whole. It's not what we're used to from back in the 80s all the way up to the 2000s. You know what I mean? Like you guys have completely changed the game. You know what I mean? Even there's new YouTubers up and coming now, with Bring Her Back, Talk to Me, a lot of these character studies, psychological thrillers, you know what I mean? They're not so much focusing on the jump scares, but they want to get in your mind and kind of test you and see how we can get in the mind of the character that they're presenting to you. You know what I mean? So
That's
you're definitely in good company, like you said.
That's exactly it, 100%. And I graduated with honors in psychology in undergrad as well. So it's funny that I'm kind of tying everything back together. And
Right.
it
Absolutely.
exactly it makes you think, it makes you laugh, and then it scares you, and it's supposed to much shorter time, and you're out on your way. So I agree with that.
Exactly.
It's becoming my favorite genre big time because you can sneak a lot under it, and it has a lot more
No,
to
for
say.
sure.
And yeah, the visuals too. Like instead of just kind of slow zoom in, now it's like high angle,
Hmm.
low angle, all this kind of through the field.
Right.
It's great.
Exactly.
Technology has definitely helped storytellers tell their stories much better.
Oh, 1000%. 1000%. We're in after COVID, we're definitely in the resurgence of absolute cinema. You know what I mean? And I'm loving
Absolutely.
every second of it. But as for my final question, not necessarily a question, but again, I want to congratulate you on this project. Be Nice is super. Again, for those watching and listening, it's short. It is beautiful. It is directed perfectly. Cinematography is great. Short and sweet, straight to the point. Again, you mentioned at the
Thank you.
beginning you have your world premiere, the orange carpet at Dances with Film. How excited are you about that? I know you mentioned your excitement earlier, but how excited are you about that
I'm
accomplishment?
I'm super, super excited, especially the fact that it's my first time writing, directing, producing all at once. So, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the first project under my own production company. So, the fact that we kind of knocked it out of the park and it's got a motor on it, I've become more of a audience member than, kind of just being part of it, if that makes sense. And the thing I'm
Right.
excited the most is, first of all, the confidence that I have from this, and I can apply it to the next one. I have the crew now, everything that's going well. But what I'm most excited about, above and beyond by far, is that my parents get to see it. They're the ones who really supported me my entire life. And my mom let me cut a class early to go see Jurassic Park. And I promised myself then I was going to become a filmmaker. So that took a while from 1993 to now. But now we're
Yeah.
here. And my dad has always been my rock and my Yoda, right? Always telling me not to worry, be
Mm-hmm.
happy, just focus on your dreams. So, and now that it's happening, my parents get to see, they're going to be in the theater. And of course, for me, the benefit is I get to see the audience's reaction. So I know what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
And you can't pay for stuff like that. Dances with Films has
Mm-hmm.
really gone out of their way to arrange something special here. And it's honestly an honor.
No, and I'm glad that you mentioned that you can pay for that sort of experience. That's something you work your way towards, and that experience is bar none. You know what I mean? But again, I want to congratulate you on this accomplishment. I know you've worked really hard to get here, and I once again appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with us. My first interview in a couple of years, so it's been great. It's been great sitting down and chatting horror with someone for X amount of time. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next one, the next project. Make sure you guys keep the Nerdy Basement in your radar. We'll definitely have you on the show again and we'll talk about it more in depth. So I want to
You know,
appreciate you for that.
we'll do, Ozzy. Thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate it. And exciting for sure. And absolutely. The Nerdy Podcast, the next one for sure. Nerdy Basement for sure. The next one for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. We'll
We're
we'll
together. For sure. Love it.
we'll spread the word. All right, thank you, Eric. We'll see you guys later. You guys have a good day. All right, appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.